Hello, I'm Bonnie Claire, and this is my channel about my hobbies. Most of them, like 99% of them, are about cross stitch, but this episode's actually about crochet. That's my other handcraft, textile craft that I love to do. And so I've made toys over the years for my kids. That's pretty much all I've crocheted. So not really scarves or clothing or anything yet, but I'd love to try that. But I've talked about on my cross stitch videos that I crochet, so that I'd finally just show a bunch that I've made, and this will be a little experiment too to see what kind of yarn stands up to play and time. I will say over time, my preferred yarn for toys is actually cotton yarn. I do think it looks better, and so I'll show you as I go through. And my favorite crochet designer for toys by far is Toft in the UK, and I love their yarn too, so that's great wool yarn. All right, well, I don't know if I should start with the bad ones or the good ones. So this is a little octopus. The eyes are coming off because they've been loved, but it's kind of fun. I have a blue one somewhere that I made too. I'm not exactly sure. Actually, maybe orange. I can't remember. But this, someone was telling me that they make little octopuses for babies in the NICU sometimes, because something about like holding the tentacles. I don't know if this is true, but it's like holding the umbilical cord, or there's something comforting about it. Let me know if that's just a rumor or if anyone knows if that's true. But someone was actually sent me a link to an organization that they do make octopuses, so I know that part's true for babies. So what I've done, these are for my kids obviously, but when a friend has a baby for their baby shower, I'll usually crochet a little octopus. So I did one recently in this pretty blue color that I can insert a picture of for a friend's baby. So this shows you, you know those huge things of yarn you could get from Joann's? It's just an acrylic yarn. Joann's, rest in peace, Joann's. My son wanted a tarantula, so I just tried to make sure I had 8 legs and put little eyes on it. So, but this acrylic yarn, I will say, it kind of gets a little bit junky. So I wouldn't recommend it for toys if you want them to last, because if you'll compare, I mean, this one still looks a lot nicer, and it's just as old. Okay, this one, I'm trying to remember what yarn I used for this. This was a squid. My oldest child, he's a lot older now, but when he was little, he loved ocean animals. So I made him a squid, also probably from a Toft pattern, I'm pretty sure. And I'm not sure if this is Toft yarn this time. I'll put in a picture of him from Halloween when he was a squid. I'm just going to cover his face because, yeah, he wanted to be a squid for Halloween. So there's that squid. This was one of my earlier things. I got one of those kits, Star Wars crochet. Here's my stormtrooper. So this was really complicated for as much of a beginner I was. I'd say now I'm like an advanced beginner, just because I've really only kept my knowledge to toys. So once I know how to do things like clothes, I will level up. But yeah, this was when I was a beginner, and I just went for it because they liked Star Wars. But you can kind of see how the rows don't quite meet up and whatever. This was also just an acrylic yarn. I think that came in the kit. So it's done well considering. Okay, next I did 2 bigger octopuses. I think it's octopuses. It's not octopi, right? I really loved the look of this yarn, but again, it's kind of just gotten gross over time. So I did bigger ones for my boys so they could each have one. And this one's done a little better. So they're still a fun look for an ocean creature though, aren't they? It's the same pattern from Toft, just bigger yarn, bigger toy. And let's see, this is also a Toft snake. This one I used cotton yarn, so it just stays nicely. And I'll tell you, this gets played with all the time. mostly as like a whip, but you know, kids winging it around. But you know, also as a snake. I should have warned you if you don't like snakes. It's not real. For a while, my kids were into Pokemon, so I did a little Pokeball. That's what they're called, right? See, I don't actually know much about Pokemon, but I've learned a lot from my children. And then here's a tiny bunny. Toft pattern. Isn't it so cute? Look at, oops, the little tail. This is probably with the Toft yarn, I'm guessing. I just love how mini it is. I do prefer making the mini ones. I'm obsessed with tiny things. That's probably why I cross stitch. And then here, this was one of my early ones. I made a hippo from the Toft, of course. What did she call it? Edward's Menagerie, I think, is the book. And this was kind of an early one. The neck's not attached very well, so I might need to redo that. They're supposed to be kind of floppy, but it's almost severed. So here's my hippo. And then this past Christmas, I was trying to do homemade gifts for my children who I could do that for. And this one looks like we're gonna have to touch up a little. I made this giant axolotl for my son. I'll have to link the designer in my description box because I can't remember off the top of my head. This thing's huge. Look at it. It's kind of like a pillow. It's been well loved, so I'm seeing parts that are coming apart, like where some ends were woven in. I've never been really good at knowing how to finish off my crochet, so that's something I'm working on. But yes, it's a floppy, squishy, soft, I can't remember what this yarn's called, axolotl for my son. And then I have 4 boys. Oh shoot, I forgot the dinosaur. I have 4 boys, so another one's obsessed with volcanoes. So I made this volcano pillow. I have a vintage travel pillow pattern that I kind of copied to make this. If you want to go back and watch my last cross stitch video, I show it in there and just kind of talk about how I'm going to alter it. So this is what it ended up looking like. So it's a pillow, and then there's a toy that goes in here. And I also have an opening at the top for the volcano. I forgot to grab the toy. I made a tiny dinosaur. It was a pterodactyl from the Toft company that goes with the pillow. So I'll just probably put in a picture or something. So this was one I just made recently. And it's from yarn that was in my stash. This was a thrifted yarn. I think it's acrylic, but then the rest is cotton. And then one little strand left over from the axolotl of that soft yarn for the lava. So that was a labor of love. All right, that's all my crochet. So I'm going to come back and do a cross stitch video, but thanks for looking at my other craft with me.